Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Facebook Live. It is the 5th of November, year 2025. Hope everyone is having a fantastic time. It is getting close to Thanksgiving holiday here in the United States of America. Everybody is preparing for the holidays, and everybody just finished the what I would call Halloween. It is full moon as well. I think yesterday or something was full moon. So hope everyone is doing their full moon meditation. And let me welcome the panel. We have April here who has joined us after a few weeks of hiatus. April is a psychic, a medium, a spiritual teacher, spiritual counselor, as well as she has quite a few modalities of healing under her belt. So welcome back, April. Good evening. Thank you for being here. And then we have Lakshmi here. Good evening, Lakshmi. Lakshmi is a session leader in our workshops on mantra chanting, and she has a meditation on Tuesdays where she leads a meditation group. Again, it's on mantra chanting, as well as hosts a Sunday lecture one Sunday a month. Good evening, Lakshmi. Thank you so much for joining us. And then we have Patricia, who is part of our core group of meditators. Good evening, Patricia. And then Wyatt has joined too. Good evening. So here is a I'm trying to find a question that so one of the quotes that Eckhart says is suffering is necessary until you realize it is unnecessary. Suffering is necessary until you realize it is unnecessary. So, right. April, somebody asked on the Facebook group, absolutely, it's so not necessary anymore for a long time. Why does it keep happening? Why does suffering? And it kind of leads to what we were talking right before we started this Facebook group chat, right? Facebook Live. Why does it keep happening? Why does suffering keep happening? So Eckhart's quote is, suffering is necessary until you realize it is unnecessary. Does everybody understand that quote?
Yes.
Okay. I'll let you take it away, April.
So Eckhart's focus mainly is on attachments, expectations, the ego, taking things personally. So when the questioner says, why does it keep happening? To me, that indicates that there's an expectation there that if I have let go of my ego and I've let go of my labels and my titles, and I realize that there's, a meaning or a purpose for everything, then why am I still suffering? That to me indicates an expectation that once I do all of this, then things are supposed to go smoothly or be perfect, and that, we won't have any more hard times, which is not true. Life is going to be life. It's going to always go up and it's always going to go down. Things are going to happen. We're here in a space, in a dimension where you have to have experience. That is the only way to actually know, is to have the experience. Somebody can tell you something, they can explain it to you, but you still don't really know truly until you have the experience yourself. So with that, you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have good experiences and so-called bad experiences. And a lot of people, I did it too, when you get into this space and you start learning and you start applying these practices, you have this idea like, okay, everything's going to be great now. No more bad things are going to happen to me, but that's not really how it is. It's more about how you perceive what's happening, how much you take what's happening personally. If you're doing any projecting of expectations onto others. And then one thing that I always tend to bring up is looking at things through the eyes of the soul instead of the eyes of the human. If you look at things through human eyes, they're very painful, they have no reason, they don't make sense. But if you look at things from the broader perspective, the greater perspective, or through the eyes of source, then everything does have a reason and a purpose. You just can't maybe see it right now. Usually you'll see it later. You'll put the dots together and then it'll make sense and you'll be like, oh, okay, that had to happen, so this would happen. So to me, this person is looking at the expectations. One, thinking that because I'm going to be spiritual, things aren't going to happen. And then that only good things are going to happen to them. So the suffering isn't necessary in a way. But then there's also the space of where Eckhart talks about when you have had enough pain, that's when you'll surrender. So in a way it is necessary, but there is a space that you get to where you learn to stop taking things personally and you stop getting hurt over them. And it's not not necessary. So one of the bigger things that I found was death was like this. Once you really take on Eckhart's teachings and maybe you experience a death, you experience a death in a completely different way. And it's a very weird, odd space to be in, where you think and you're telling yourself that you should be crying and you should be super sad and you should be doing all these things, but because you have a greater understanding now, you're not as sad and you almost feel like you're doing something wrong because you're supposed to be crying, but you understand that the souls continue and that soul's time was over and it's okay. So it's different. The same thing about people experiencing issues. You know, they'll tell you about things that they're going through or things they're experiencing. And Eckhart does this really well. As people have brought this up, like, well, I just have no feelings. You understand that soul's on a journey. And this is something that they had to go through to learn on their journey. And it's a different space to be in. It's just a really different space. So I would look at their why does it keep happening? That's more of an expectation. But so that's my 2 cents.
Why does it keep happening? Also, is we have not learned the spiritual lesson from the suffering.
Oh yeah, there's that aspect too.
You have to explain that, April, before I go to Lakshmi. Please explain that
Yeah,
because I
so
know you might drop early, right? So
yeah.
thank
So
you, thank you, thank you.
That's the whole aspect of the universe is mirroring back to you, whatever stage you're in or level of consciousness that you're in. And if something continues to happen, one, it could be that's where your consciousness is at. And two, it's because whatever lesson that you're supposed to learn from that, you really haven't learned it fully, or there's more to it. So I found, you know, in the kids movie, what is the name of that kids movie with the green guy? What is the kids movie? what is it called? With the green guy, do you guys know? I can't think of the kids movie.
Range?
Correct?
Shrek. Yeah.
Oh, like,
So he tells the donkey, you know, that he's like an onion and there's layers as in that movie, in the kids movie. And that's really how life lessons are as well. There's numerous times where you think you have dealt with something, you think you've healed from something, and then there seems to be this another layer. So you go through either the same or the similar experience because you haven't fully learned everything from the lesson. A lot of it actually too is about worth. Your worth. So your worth comes out through your vibration and your frequency. And if you don't have worth, you don't love yourself, you don't value yourself, that will be projected out. And you will have these experiences where you will be faced with, you need to pick yourself, you need to be worthy, you need to value you. If say you're in a bad workplace or something, you have a really mean boss, but you continue to stay. It's the same lesson, just a different face of you needing to pick yourself and value yourself and say that you're important. So that's just one example of why something would continue to repeat. At the end of the day, it's usually always about loving yourself and deciding that you are worthy and that you're worth more and you deserve to be treated well. And then there's the forgiveness aspect. Forgiveness is not always for the other person. You can forgive them if you understand that that's their level of consciousness. You stop putting those expectations for others to act the same way you would. But forgiveness really is about letting yourself free from that situation, event, or person being able to continue to hurt you. If you don't forgive, they get to continue to hurt you. So that is why forgiveness, they'll say it's not really about the other person, it's about you. It's super important to see if you can find a way, whether you use the quote, forgive them for they know not what they do, which really Eckhart talks a lot about consciousness. He laughs about it in a lot of his talks. To him, it's funny. And when you get into this and you practice what he teaches, it does become funny to watch somebody else's ego and the things that they do. It does become humorous to you because you can see it. You can see how they're attached to their ego and how that's their identity, but you don't get offended by it anymore. It doesn't hurt you anymore. You're not taking it personal. And that's one of the ways that you can get it to stop, to where it won't keep happening, is you stop with your projections, you stop with your expectations, and you stop taking things personally.
Beautiful. Eternally grateful, April. Always you raise the vibrational level. Like whenever you join, we go up next level. So thank you. Thank you so much for joining. Let me go to Lakshmi. Lakshmi, did you want to
Yeah,
add
sure,
on to
sure.
what April said?
Yeah, because I completely agree with April. It is the expectation that because of that, even though she felt that she learned the lesson, that the suffering is necessary until you know that is unnecessary. So she felt, she or he felt that she learned the lesson, but ego is very, very manipulative and tricky. So it comes back to us in different ways. So we have to keep on practicing to stay aligned, to stay present most of the time as much as we can, so that when the challenge arises, you become aware, okay, you become that witness conscious now that, okay, now this is the challenge and I'm getting sucked into this problem. And I should know on whose behalf am I feeling this anger or resentment? On whose behalf am I having all of this, frustration? And you immediately detach yourself and watch the situation like a witness consciousness, which recently I have been doing a lot. So it is, once I start doing it, I just start laughing at the situation, because most of the time it is not as important, but the ego makes it out to be very, very important. And like April said, that this is the Earth School. Each one of us have individualized curriculum, so we cannot, copy anyone else's curriculum, right? So yes, if you haven't passed that exam, the lessons will keep coming until you pass that exam. That is how life is. So so I think the more present you are, the more aligned you are, even the subtle thoughts, you start examining, okay, so why am I having this thought right now? So once you become more and more aware of your thought patterns, I think you understand that Eckhart's quote much better. Also, if it is a person that is causing you the suffering, then you have established energy cord with them with lower chakras, like lower energy centers. You have established this energy cord. So you need to see that they are formless and the essence in me is formless. So I should connect to the formless essence in them. So then immediately you are moving to the higher energy centers, and then you are making a energy cord at the higher energy center. So then all that um, frustration and whatever negative emotions you're having towards this person will dissolve. It may not happen like in a day or two, but all of this is like, like how we go to gym to build the muscle, we are building the spiritual muscle, right? So it takes time. So we need to constantly stay aligned, stay present, and do our part. um, Whether it is focusing on your breath or chanting or doing meditations, whatever, throughout the day, if you can occasionally stay aligned to yourself, then you will definitely understand this lesson much more easily. Those are my 2 cents, Poonam.
Beautiful. Grateful, eternally grateful, Lakshmi. Thank you so much for your insights as well. You actually kind of reiterated what April was saying when April said, forgive them for they know
Yeah.
not what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
basically,
connecting to their higher self is that forgiveness.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right? Because you're not looking at what Eckhart says is you're not looking at the unconsciousness in that other person.
Yep.
You're not personalizing whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
And when you connect to their higher self, that means you're seeing their beingness instead of whatever egoic pattern they're.
The human being is what Eckhart says is a beautiful term. The human is the form and the being is the formless essence. So instead of focusing on the human aspect of them, you are focusing on the being, that shared being. Shared being you all share. So that is what the meaning of forgiveness is ultimately.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfectly said. Thank you.
Yeah.
And when Eckhart says suffering is necessary until you realize it is unnecessary, this realization that suffering is unnecessary cannot come from just mentally saying, oh, Eckhart said this quote, it should be accurate, or this is the right thing. Yes, suffering is not necessary. It is a very deep in presence. When you have that depth of presence, you realize that there is nothing called suffering.
Mm-hmm.
I'm labeling some. I love that Eckhart is very non-polarized and very agnostic in the way he observes what happens, what arises in consciousness. He always says it's a life situation.
Right. Yeah.
He never says suffering. He never says challenge. He never says it's negative. Oh my God, what? He just calls it, this is your life situation.
Life situation. Yep.
Now
Yep.
this arose in your consciousness. How are you going to respond to this life situation? Right? So this realize that it is unnecessary is that. And then when we are in that depth of presence, we never label it as suffering. We realize that it is here to teach us something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whatever this life situation is, it's not suffering. Yes, it may be inconvenient. Like if my car breaks down in the middle of the highway, then some
It's
people may.
inconvenient. Yeah.
But it is something that you have to pick up the phone and call the person that's going to tow the car. You have to call the mechanic. And I mean, there's just, if you bring the sword of presence, there's only one certain action to do. Right? So it's really weird. I'm going to share something really, really personal with all of you. So when I was 14, 15, 16, 17, my brother and I are just two siblings, right? My brother left for his higher education to Mumbai. So he was living in Bombay, we were in Hyderabad. And so I was doing everything for my mother. Like if we needed to run errands to get her medicines, we had dogs. So I would go get, actually we were Brahmins, but I would go get meat at the meat market and cook for the dog outside. Like we had a separate stove, separate dishes, cook for them, feed them, walk them, like all the chores, I would do it, right? So out of the trauma of living with my mother, where my mother, I didn't know when she would explode, right? I'm sure, I think Francesca said her mother was that way. Patricia said her father was that way. So when you're realize when you're living with somebody that you're in constant fear of, what you do is you become highly alert and psychic, I feel, April. Actually, Dean Graziosi made me aware of this, that you are like constantly alert and you're in a high presence. When is this person going to explode, right? So somehow that trained me to bring the sword of presence. Like if she was not feeling well, I would go, okay, I need to take her to the doctor. I mean, at 14, 15 years old, take her to the doctor. I need to go to the medical store. You know, we had those small medical store in the neighborhood. You had to go get the medicine, the pharmacy. So you went to the medical store, you got the medicine, brought the medicine. There was one day my mom literally said, this girl has no feelings for me. She just does what needs to be done. Right? But I know that was like the sword of presence. Like I knew it trained me to look at things exactly what Eckhart says. There's a life situation. This person is sick. I need to take them to the doctor. I need to give them medicine. And I continued that with my son. Like when my son was little, everybody was like, oh, poor darling, he sees this thing. Oh, I'm not going to eat. Like his grandmother would say, I cannot eat. This kid is not eating. And I was like, sword of presence. Take him to the pediatrician, take him to whatever the pediatrician says, get the medicines, feed him, get him the medicine, give him good food. He'll heal. You know, children are resilient. It's like there's no tears, there's no drama, there's nothing, right? So this thing that Eckhart says, there is no suffering, right? And I've been a single mom, and it's amazing that 8 years till 18, 19, until my son got independent driving, I had to do everything by myself. I had no idea, but it was exactly this sword of presence but it's just one thing at a time. You just do one thing at a time. Bring the sword of presence and do what needs to be done. Don't label the situation, right? And just yes, we become hypersensitive and hypervigilant around parents that Wyatt is saying same thing with my mom. I was hypervigilant. So thank you, Wyatt. So with that, I'll go to Patricia. Go ahead, Patricia. Thank you. Beautiful conversation.
It is amazing, and thank you, April, Lakshmi, and Poonam. That's like such amazing insights and helpful. That was my question for longest time, and it still comes up every once in a while. But I do, in those moments, realize that I have a choice now because I'm present. So the situation comes, and then I, thanks to Dr. Joe, certain things I rehearsed. So if I rehearsed it, now if the situation happens, I already know what to do. And I kind of sit in meditation and imagine, you know, how I don't want to say what I don't want to do, but what I do want to do in those situations. And sometimes the situation never happens, but if it does, I'm prepared for it. So instead of playing my victim role, as I was used to, conditioned to do all the time, why is this happening to me, for me, you know, nobody loves me, you know, this and that. Okay, this is a situation, you know, that's exactly what you said, Poonam, sort of present. You got to act because nobody's going to do it for you. Yes, you can say that, oh, save me, but yeah, even if someone does help you, there's an angel sent to you, but he can't live for you. Like this situation required for someone else to intervene, and through the grace, they showed up, but then they gonna leave. They living their life. I mean, it's like nobody's gonna live the life for you. So the situations are there to learn, and you have a choice. You realize, do I want to suffer, or I want to live a different way? And I think that's what Eckhart said happened to him. Finally, it's like, there has to be another way. I don't want to live like this. And this suffering is constant. And so like, there has to be another way. And I think this is what suffering brings us to that realization that each one of us is here on earth to find our own unique way back to oneness, right? Back to the unconditional love. So in a sense, in our unique way, we're finding way back, and each one of us is given certain sufferings through which we learn in our individual ways how to overcome it, how not to be taken and by that ego who will just use us and feed on us. And it's like and yes, some of us will try to do certain substances because it's something from the exterior, right? Oh, I'll just take a pill, or I just, you know, watch TV. I just get drunk. I get drugs. I do stuff to just for a minute forget about this. But then it comes back stronger and stronger until you realize that nothing from the outside can save you, that you are your problem, but you are your solution as well. You have the answer. And many times the question is the answer. How can I do it? What could I do? And I think with Eckhart, the biggest lesson for me was not attaching the story. The suffering comes the minute I say poor me, that, oh, because my dad was this, oh, because my mom was this, oh, because I'm this, like I'm starting to attaching the story, like, and the minute I realize, and I ask the question that Lakshmi brought in from Rupert Spira, on whose behalf am I suffering? Just asking that question, you realize that everything is fine. It's meant to be that way, and there is a meaning to it. And once you find that meaning, the higher meaning of it, then you actually almost happy and grateful that it's happening. So it stops become suffering. And I think it's very important to understand the difference between pain and suffering, which Eckhart also brings that. Yes, you can have a painful sensation in your body, but then even if you really concentrate on that sensation, you realize that it's okay, it's hot, it's cold, it's this, like you're starting to describe it. That's that NLP practice that you actually, and then you realize that you can actually dissolve it. Like your body has a way of releasing certain chemicals to help you, and the pain goes away. Now, unless obviously there is an accident and you have obvious physical trauma to your body, but it's a pain then you can deal with, or with help of now medicine and stuff, but it doesn't have to turn into suffering. Oh, why does it happen to me? Oh, poor me, I now can't use my leg or stuff. So, and especially with Eckhart's also saying that a lot of people, the initial suffering became their road to salvation. Like they, through that, found that peace beyond, any possible understanding, that it's through that. So in a sense, I think that's what he means, that it's necessary because it's the way, what's the saying, that the way out it's through. The weight of suffering is like through it, not try to avoid it, because then it's gonna also get more resisting the suffering. I think it's actually Rupert Spira, I think, said that resentment of what is, it's the suffering. So once you surrender, sort of presence, and then, but yes, in a sense, in the beginning, it feels like, oh my God, so I'm not gonna feel anything. So I'm gonna stop being a human. It's like a robot, no feelings, just actions. But then I think out of this realization comes, yes, I'm still able to feel higher feelings. I will actually feel forgiveness and unconditional love. And that is a feeling that it's such higher quality feeling than just being pulled away in a million directions through, help, here I'm crying. Like it's like from two extremes, that polarity always. So, but yes, I'm still finding myself in moments when my old programming tried to pull me, like, oh, you alone, or look at you, everybody's going to be excited about holidays and you don't have family, maybe your daughter will come, maybe she won't. It's like, but then I'm thinking to myself, well, I actually enjoy sitting in meditation or cooking my little medical medium stuff. I don't have to worry about everybody else's drama and stuff. And that's the time in my life that I can actually care for myself, and nobody tells me what to do, when to do it, how. And So maybe, you know, once I actually start loving completely the point in my life that I'm in, maybe then someone else will come into my life, but then it's not gonna be me being completely dependent on it, but just to, you know, accept it and enjoy it and share our time together versus being completely dependent and needy. Thank you.
Absolutely grateful, Patricia. Thank you so much for your experiences and insights as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
You
Beautiful,
know,
beautiful subject.
you talked about self-worth, and April talked about self-worth. One of the things that not that I've watched too many of. So there's this person called Dr. John Demartini who actually was featured on the movie The Secret, right? So he's another law of attraction kind of person. So what he said is human beings do not have self-worth. So he has this philosophy of like something about people either are working towards their purpose, higher purpose, or they are just doing low quality action that is working towards lower purpose. Like people have different value, actually value system. Like you value something at the highest when you are doing something that you value at your highest, right? Then you have self-worth. Like hosting this Facebook Live, thinking, like getting the feeling that look how we are raising, just like all of you being here, I can feel Lakshmi and April, like I can feel the vibrational energy rise, right? The same thing with the group meditation, the vibrational energy just rises, right? So how much are we making a difference for the planet by raising the vibrational frequency, correct? So when you tie yourself to that higher purpose, that look, it's not about Thanksgiving and that shallow getting together and cooking a meal and you're kind of like backstabbing each other and talking about this relative and that relative and oh, this aunt did this or this uncle did this, and then fighting with that uncle or fighting with that or whatever, the two uncles, like Eckhart says, right? The same uncle and same aunt will have an argument with each other or create the drama, right? The same aunt who has a heavy pain body will start creating a drama. Like my mom used to, like, there was one time, I think I've told this on the Facebook Live, like we were enjoying a really good meal and my mom suddenly turns around to my niece and says, you eat too much and you're just gonna get fat. And poor little thing, she got so angry, she like stomped and she walked away. She started crying, went into the other room, started crying, and here's my mom like constantly like saying something to her. So it's like my mom's pain body, like even pain bodies are like these I love Eckhart's visualization. They're like these entities that are feeding, like they're like that alien, like that alien movie where the alien came out. I feel that alien movie is like out of her stomach, that alien comes out, right? That's how pain body is. Like it's coming out and it's like feeding. Let me feed on these people. So I don't know why that started. Let me go to Francesca. But so your self-worth needs, the more you can do a mental rehearsal of when your action is of the highest value, right? That you're doing something that is producing your highest value, you will have self-worth automatically. You don't have to look for anything else to, correct, April? Don't you feel like with being here, doing your psychic readings, you feel that you're serving your higher purpose and you have self-worth at those moments? Isn't that true?
Usually when you are doing your passion, which is connected to your purpose, yes, you will have a higher vibration, a higher frequency.
Yeah.
And that in itself, doing whatever activity that is, will feed your self-worth, your self-esteem, your self-love. Your worth is not tied to you having to do things.
Right.
So you don't have to do anything to be worthy. But when you do your purpose, then you will automatically feel more connected to your true soul, your true self, which will then increase it really increases your self-esteem and your self-love. Really, yes, absolutely.
Beautiful.
And it's different for everybody too. So some people, they're meant to go spend time with the trees, and some people are meant to go spend time with the elderly, and some people, so it's different for everybody too.
Thank you, April. Grateful. If you sit in pain, then you're serving your higher purpose. If you make medical medium food, you're serving your higher purpose. You're doing something good for your body. So each one of those should build your self-worth, right? So wanted to give you that tip.
The one thing that I want to add before Francesca starts is that what I liked about Dr. Demartini's perspective on it, that he actually tells you if you're suffering or if you like have a very low self, you're supposed to, because it means it's your soul's telling you this is not for you. Don't lose your energy doing this because it's just taking you down. So it's like a alarm. It's like, hello, you're suffering. You're not supposed to be doing that. It's not.
It's bringing you low self-esteem work. If I'm doing low self-esteem work, that means that that's not what my higher purpose is, correct? So I'm doing low quality doing, like Eckhart calls it low quality doing. So with that, I'll go to Francesca. You know what the question is, right?
Yes.
On the chat. Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Wow, such beautiful share from everybody. Great wisdom. My God. My contribution would be, like Eckhart said, suffering is necessary. That comes from the Four Noble Truths, which is tied into the Eightfold Path in Buddhism, because the Buddha said suffering is inevitable, which is the same as necessary. And the reason, and that's the first truth, that's the first noble truth, suffering is inevitable or necessary. And the reason being, it's because, again, we're all, prior to all of us awakening and, through the doing of our inner work, prior to our first self-realized moment, we couldn't possibly see or understand that we were the reason we were suffering, right? We didn't understand until the first realization happened. So I'm trying to share my explanation to apply it to realistic day-to-day example as well. Until our first realization happened, we didn't even have that ability to go, oh my God, to like see with such, at least for me, this is how it happened, to see with such great clarity that these thoughts that I was having, the people that I was having them about are also having the same thought. It was my first self-realized moment. I realized, oh my God, in my corporate career, I was so stressed out because of this competition and, striving to meet all of these expectations. And the people that I felt, were competing with me were also thinking the same thing. And so they were doing the same thing. That was actually from my first realization, which I started laughing so hard when I realized how stupid I was, because, here I was, it was like essentially what ended up happening is I was competing with myself. I didn't even know that, I was under depression, like, oh yes, performing above and beyond the whole 9 yards. I went into that, I call it black hole now, of thought formations, of things I needed to do. I'd show up an hour extra for work early. I would go home like 2-3 hours late. In the end, my body is paying the price now, of course, for all of that too, right? So, suffering is inevitable. It's because, the mind and its formation based on our upbringing or collective programs and so forth have actually been sadly, horrifically disillusioned. As a result of that, my revelation became we suffer the wrong way, because how we were even taught to suffer is based on the egoic state of mind when it's out of alignment, thinking we should we should go and bomb another country, right, as a way of retaliating, and all these other expectations and judgments and so forth that arise from these lower streams, what I call lower streams of consciousness, that we didn't train. And so suffering is inevitable, ties into the Eightfold Path. And the first step on the Eightfold Path is called developing the right mind, right? And so, for myself, after the first realization, I was like, oh my goodness, right away, I was able to see with great clarity that I didn't even notice. Oh my God, here I am, this analyst, successful, doing all of these things, yet I wasn't aware of how stupid I was, or because now that I've had the first realization, the path internally starts to clear, right? And we start to reflect. So, daily meditation, closing my eyes, became, concentrated practice where, for example, I would allow myself to witness my mind, witness the thought formation. So when I became triggered, or trigger meaning angry or sad or frustrated, I would quickly close my eyes and I would sit down. So it didn't matter what time I woke up, I would quickly sit down and I would allow myself to go into observing that feeling and the thought formation around it. So again, because of this self-observation, the self-realization kept emerging, and so forth. So when Eckhart mentions that until you realize it's unnecessarily, absolutely, it is so not necessary anymore. I'm just reading what's written here for a long time. So there is a few layers to this. So there is, the suffering which we all experience, here, because of the mind formation. That's why we're suffering, right? Not only that, the misinterpretation of, where we become identified with our views, and the mind formation, because that's the way we were taught to interpret. We weren't taught to interpret and to understand the language of the universe, and the language of the universe is energy, frequency, and vibration, which is completely different from English and every other language, in relation to the thought formation and how we understood, right? And so, to even realize that it's unnecessary requires developing of the right mind. And the Eightfold Path actually lays out all of the different, parts of that path that we learn to develop. So that's, for example, myself, that's what I've been developing through my personal practice, right? Keep working at it. It's like a beautiful, me. I'm like this mold that I keep redoing. Sometimes it means squishing it all up, like squashing everything which the universe have done over and over, and starting over from where I'm at, right? It doesn't mean I'm starting over from scratch necessarily, just that, okay, yeah, like Patricia said, right? That's the wrong route. Okay, let's redo and start again, right? And NDEs and things like that have a way of actually redirecting us into the right direction, onto the right path. And so we don't necessarily realize that it's unnecessary until something huge happens, right? Because how many years, for example, family dynamics, Poonam gives some great examples, right? Where, families suffer, the pain body entities, my God, it's one entity is picking on the other entity, and they're like poking each other. But here's the thing, neither of these two people are aware that below the surface of all their thought formation and the way these thoughts are making them feel and the mind justification for why they're poking at each other, none of these two people have any idea below the surface vibrationally, the frequency, everything that's playing out are basically the two pain body entities, right? And it's just its way, I call it sneaky little devils, because it's just its way of feeding, because it's addicted to negativity, right? And like I'm actually helping a family right now that's moving through that, right? And both people identified with their expectations and how they think it should be and the judgments and so forth. And I'm like, think about it this way. If both people are feeding this, up here, right? How is this going to even produce a solution? Right? So I'm trying to not share too much detail, because for confidentiality of the people that I'm helping right now. But basically, essentially, suffering is necessary, and the highest of level, I think Patricia might have touched on this, it is also, and I call this the universal sense of humor, so pardon my chuckling. I giggle at it because there is also no suffering, right? Everything is impermanent, for starters. And even myself as a deep practitioner, right now I'm in the deepest of my practices in relation to the self-realization, the wisdom immerse. So I'm allowing myself a lot of space, because of course, as this is happening, my good friend who is a Buddhist monk, she transitioned, so she died. This family that I'm helping is having this crisis, and then last night at 6 o'clock, I had a call and said, hey, Francesca, this facilitator isn't able to show up. Would you like to teach the seniors class today? And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. So that's what I did today. That was my first act of service, because I wasn't planning to show up here today, because I was like, you know what? I'm moving through this grief. And as I move through the grief, I'm doing, I found out from my teachers and different people, okay, what kind of a practice can I do to help my friend who's just transitioned? So this is the first time I'm actually reading from the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And interestingly, the second day I did the reading, I fell asleep after, and I think I fell asleep for like 3 or 4 hours. And in my sleep, I dreamt her. And she was like so happy, because I'm, in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, we do the reading, but we also do the visualization, right? And I saw her. She came to me in my dream. And by yesterday, I was like, oh my God, that was like lifted so much, grief and like, right? But again, it's because I've, through developing of the right mind and, the right view, all of these different parts of the Eightfold Path, I was able to show up from my higher frequency, even in the depths of my grief. And 2 days before that, my soul was bawling its eyes out. Like I was crying the entire day. I mean, I was walking down Robson Street to, go pick up something, and I was crying, and I was like saying, oh my God, thank God it was windy, because like I had tears down my eye. I didn't even know she was transitioning. She died the next day at around noon. But that entire day before, I was just crying, because all of a sudden I was reflecting on all the suffering throughout the world. So this is something that I experienced because of my practice. From time to time, it happens like maybe once every couple of years. It's kind of like the universe just opening up clear view, and all of a sudden I could see it all as it's happening, and it's like, oh my God. So I just started breaking down and praying and crying for mercy, and before you know it, I'm deep in this suffering myself, because I am like frustrated and angry, because again, mind formation, right? Angry at God. It's like, have mercy on us. Why is it that this journey have to be so hard? Because, again, mind formation, all of these questions, right? So I had mental breakdown, emotional breakdown. And then by Saturday morning, I found out that my friend had, transitioned that day before. So even as a practitioner, suffering is inevitable. I can tell you, it doesn't matter, it seems, how high we go in this journey, unless we're emanating that Christ state of consciousness and we're fully embrace that, Buddha nature, which is where Eckhart Tolle is at, right? He has landed, like he's landed in his Christ state of consciousness in such a powerful way. He no longer becomes entangled with external frequencies. Doesn't matter what's happening, he doesn't, and he understands. That's, you see, for me, right now, I'm going through the process of learning how not to be more aware of entanglement, how they're formed, and how not to, become entangled in order to maintain my own Christ states of consciousness. Because my God, I'm like wavering, in like right now, like crazy, right? And so coming back around to, suffering is inevitable, and it is also an illusion, because it only happens based on mind formation. It only happens here in this physical level, right? And when Avalokiteshvara, the awakened one's vows, which is what we learn in Zen Buddhism, it talks about there is, without this physical body, without this brain, without the heart, without everything, there is no thought, no feeling, no thinking, no suffering, no consciousness, right? So Eckhart is up there in that, I mean, in the frequency of that presence, of that stillness, of that oneness. And he transmits from that state through the physical. So he has practiced so much that he's able to transmit continuously from that state and use the physical body just as a vessel, right? My dream is to be in that state. So I've actually registered for his Teacher of Presence program myself, even though I'm teaching and all of this stuff. I see him as a teacher that I can learn. I've been learning so much from in that regards, because for me it is, I also believe, if I'm going to show up publicly, and like I'm just showing up, I want to show up from my Christ states of consciousness, right? Because like April mentioned, and I think Lakshmi as well too, when the Christ said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. My God, my God. We literally, humanity as a whole, myself included in the past, really did not know what I was doing because of the ignorance of my egoic state of mind, because of the fact that I didn't learn that I'm supposed to even develop the right mind. Like the first time I heard this was like, 14 years ago. And I'm like, wow, in the country I was born, Buddhism isn't even a thing. We've had Hindu, every single thing, and I've moonlighted every single religion. And Buddhism isn't a religion, it's a way of life, right? It's a path. But that wasn't present in the country I was born in. So, when I heard, the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, and then I started having the experiential experiences from the self-realization, things were happening. I was like, oh my God, of course I was hooked right away, right? And so everything, has been unfolding since. So even now, where I'm at, humbly here and now, my teacher, I actually reached out to my Zen teacher, one of my Zen teachers yesterday, because again, my soul was crying, okay, recognizing when we need help. It's okay to reach out, because sometimes it's like, and I said, I feel like right now I'm a deity with like 10 different arms, except in the arms I'm supposed to have, it's like, to hold up so much. Like here I am helping this family. And, I on the inside, my soul is crying because, I have all these thoughts that are coming up, formations. And then, on the other hand, my friend just passed away, right? Mutual friend, because she was also a friend of hers, and so forth. And I'm like, I'm really struggling to see the mercy, God's mercy here right now. And because I feel like, after doing all of this work and how much work it takes to even do what we're doing, to come into power, like, April and all of us here, right? To come into the different power that we can use. And even before using our power, the wisdom of, there are rules, right? You can't just wish something bad, because then we're doing, we're not in our Christ mind. And like, he said, Father, forgive them, then, because they know not what they're doing, meaning they're operating from the ignorance of ego mind. They are even, we're unable to see the depth of truth, clear, deep truth, the clear light, right? And until we've taken that moment to sit and allow ourselves, to witness ourselves, do that self-examination, so that the higher frequency, which is the self-realization, can emerge. It's why the Buddha said we learn to get out of our own way. Until that self-realization emerges, we're not going to be able to help ourselves to step back enough from that formation and identification with our minds, because that's all we know how to do. That's what the mind has trained itself for eons upon eons to do. So not only are we carrying our own programming, we're also carrying frequencies of the collective programs that results in suffering. And at the end of the day, like I said, even in the highest of them, what my teacher shared with me, I'll share with everybody, and may it benefit all beings. Because it's helped me significantly. I've been sitting in this state since yesterday. And what she shared with me, I'm going to read it. I've written it down so that way I don't, mess it up. Okay. She said that everything is coming and going, which is impermanence, right? And it's easy for us to recognize that, right? Everything is coming and going. Ourselves, our physical body, right? And the key is to keep our heart and mind on the Christ natural state. And whatever karma needs to be expressed and dissolved, that's what we need to do. So maintain the Christ state. Like, this is huge for me. Maintain that Christ state, that Buddha nature, and recognize the karma, whatever is arising on the surface, which is all these different things that's arising right now. It's arising because, well, it's arising to be dissolved. I mean, we are in the biggest full moon right now too, and it's designed to do that because we're in the 9th year, right? So cyclic existence is coming to an end this year, right? And this is the full moon to do like one of the biggest clearing that we've ever done. So allow whatever dissolving that needs to take place, whatever karmic expression that needs to take place, that's what we need to do. But keep stabilizing and let the karmas continue to dissolve. Keep stabilizing, with the breath, which is what Eckhart does, right? Over and over, stabilizing, because of course it's going to rattle, it's going to shake us a little bit. The key, and this is where practice comes in, right? Staying in our practice, right? Keep stabilizing, remain present, right? And then she said that, every person themselves, because my question as she was sharing that transmission with me, and I was coming into complete stillness again. So all this, everything I had was like still. She's like, okay, so now that we've landed there, and my mind again was coming online while she's doing this transmission, is going but, and she's like, okay, so what's happening? I'm like, I'm completely still, but the but wants to interrupt the stillness, right? And she's like, what is the but saying? I'm like, the but is saying, right, but what about all the human beings on the planet? Like, what's the point of me doing this journey, doing all of this work, coming into all of this wisdom, having all of this power, blah, 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 if I'm not even able to help anybody, the people that I'm witnessing suffering, if I'm not able to help them enough, because I've always felt like, yes, I'm doing some things, but it's still not enough, because if it was enough, there wouldn't be any more pedophiles, right? If it was enough, there wouldn't be any more rapes. If there was enough, there wouldn't be so many things that I've worked on because of my life experiences on this path. So the but was, coming up to haunt me. And then she said, every person themselves have to find their own Christ nature, and the karmas will start to dissolve, and undo themselves, right? So again, she's like, Francesca, you're in this state. You've experienced stillness. Keep coming back to that stillness, because that in itself is a practice, right? Because I want to make that bigger and bigger, so that when I do show up, when I do speak or teach, whatever it is, I am emanating that energy, as opposed to, any of the other entanglement of, my God, I want to be seen because that was showing up to us needing to play here, oh my goodness, why am I suffering? Why don't I have enough money? And all the other, pardon me, but constructs of the mind that the mind have become accustomed to, old thinking patterns, right? Every time it became stirred, that's kind of the cycle that was happening. So I'm literally in the heart of ending my own, cycle in that regards. And then she shared a few, one, and I'm like, so she's like, okay, in relation to the butt, she shared a practice that I can do, so, and which was great, because I'm like, this is awesome, because it gives me hope, right? That, oh my God, okay, yes, I'm doing something to help. So it doesn't mean this journey is useless, because of course, nature of the mind went there when my soul was crying. I was like, oh my God, this is absolutely useless, the drama. Sorry, I'm doing this because it's like, it felt like the drama, that the mind was just taking advantage, of my sadness and broken heart when I witness suffering, and I feel helpless sometimes, right? Or I feel like I'm not helping enough. And then I become frustrated, because I'm like, oh my God, and even all of this work and doing this, it's all this stuff is still happening. Like, what's the point? Right? That's literally where my ego wanted me, right? It's like, I'm just going to give up the journey. So she reminded me, humbly as well, too, that, yeah, even here in the state, suffering is inevitable. And when we're in the energy field of the Christ and Buddha nature, there is no attachment there, right? There is no formation. So I practice. So my practice now is to keep coming back, so I can keep emanating, making that, energy feel bigger and bigger. And if I do see somebody suffering, I have a practice now that I can help that person. I don't even have to be with them, just from afar, right? And literally, it's funny how the universe worked, because I started laughing after she said that, because that was the same practice I did when I was reading from the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And I was visualizing my friend Karma, who transitioned. And I went into my Buddha nature before I even started reading from the Book of the Dead. And I did the visualization, which was her. And then I visualized the Chenrezig Buddha. And then I visualized Tara, because those are her two favorite, Buddhas. And they were each at her side. And she was smiling, and I was glowing, and they were glowing, and we were all. And as I was asking them to guide her through the bardo, which is the realm that you go through, after you transition. So, and then the next day, my teacher's like, oh, so this is what I'm like, oh, so this is what I'm saying. She's like, yes. I'm like, oh, thank God, because I don't feel as useless anymore. Anyway, yeah, I got carried away in the story there a little bit, but hopefully it helps everybody to see with, a bit more clarity. Yes, our thought formations are all disillusion, because we weren't even taught the right things when it came to, developing the mind and stuff. I mean, Eckhart and Deepak and all these beautiful beings have been trying to teach us. But here's the funny, actually, I'm going to end it on a funny note here a little bit for my share, is, so in all of this, I've been getting greater and greater, deeper glimpses of what my full destiny here is in this lifetime on planet Earth. So I'm like, oh God, finally it's showing. So it's been showing itself to me for about 3 weeks now. So I would get a little glimpse here, and then I would forget what it is. And then I would get another little glimpse that's a little longer than the previous, and then I would forget what it is. Like the moment I try to grasp, to hold on so that I can glimpse bigger, it would disappear and I would forget. And so this whole process has been showing me so deeply my purpose in relation to my destiny. By yesterday, I did like 3 TikTok videos because I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to start showing up from like that, right? And basically, my role is to help people, humanity, to understand the language of the universe from a level of frequency and vibration. Because we were taught the language of the universe through the English language, which is very limiting in its capacity. Secondly, what we were thought to do, violence. We know Martin Luther King said violence begets violence. We were taught, oh my God, when we get upset, we should project, we should blame, we should, kill the other person, we should do all of these things. So we were guided to do all of these things, and none of those things serve us. And that came from a misinterpretation of the language of the universe, because the misinterpretation resides in the very, I say, like the fine line area where, yes, maybe somebody may have very well caused us upset. They may have done something to us that isn't right, we may have had to defend ourselves or not, or maybe we were younger, didn't have the ability to defend ourselves. What we're supposed to do, and that's what the trigger is here to teach us, it's teaching us, helping to shine the light within us, to show us the areas within ourselves that needs healing and evolving. And when we sit with ourselves and we start to become present with that hurt, with that pain, with that fear, whatever it is that we need to become present with, okay, we start to experience greater clarity. And from that clarity, self-realization emerges. We're supposed to self-examine. Nobody's taught me that my entire life. I learned that from this path, 14. I started learning how to do it 14 years ago. But in order to even self-examine the right way, knowing the right questions to ask and so forth, it's important to understand, what is that lesson here to teach me? Why am I feeling triggered? Why did I attract? Why did somebody just started randomly yelling at me for no reason? Right? We weren't taught that, oh my God, this person is randomly yelling at me, because that's the universe vibratory frequency way of telling me that I am carrying anger within me and I yell at people. But I don't see that, and I would never admit that, right? Because, there's shame and all kinds of things that come from that as well, too. But essentially, what you're experiencing is like energy attracts like. So everything that's happening to you, and majority of people, my God, they attack, they don't want to hear this, and so forth, right? But a lot of what we're experiencing is here to teach us something about ourselves. It's here to teach us how to heal. It's here to show us the areas within ourselves that needs love, that needs attention, that needs to heal, that needs to evolve. And in order to do that, consistently, beautifully, it's a beautiful process, really, and is understanding the language of the universe through the frequency and vibration in which it delivers that message. Because it's not coming to say, oh my God, Francesca, yeah, you know what? Your family member is judging you no matter how hard you've worked on this journey, because your thoughts, when you think about them, because you're triggered, you're actually judging them in your thinking process. The universe doesn't explain that, right? I had to, oh my God. Okay, ego mind, I see what you're doing. Okay, pain body, you little devil, I had to become aware over and over again, enough to be able to catch it before it even penetrates my consciousness, because it's like, okay, so that's what's happening. Or, oh my God, Charlotte is just going at me today because her pain body wants to feed. You know what I said? Okay, Charlotte, your pain body wants to feed. I'm not going to let my pain body feed it. Sorry, love, or whatever the case. And I have fun with it because she's just a child, and it's my way of, teaching her without her going, oh my God, I don't want to hear this, and then shuts me out, right? So understanding the language of the universe in relation to frequency and vibration, the end, which is energy, frequency, and vibration, I think is key to helping us to not suffer as much, I'm not going to say not suffer again because it's inevitable. It's, you know, it will happen as long as we're in this physical body in human form. That's why, you know, it's literally inevitable, because based on our life and how we live, that will determine how we rebirth, which realm we get which realm we rebirth into. And even whilst we're alive, we're constantly rebirthing over and over again. When we rebirth, you know, like my beautiful friend who transitioned, she rebirths, you know, I've witnessed this. This is a beautiful practitioner, a nun, you know, spent time with the Dalai Lama, like, I mean, years, her entire life. She practiced, you know, a nun. And in the end, for the last, I've known her, I think 6 years, 7 years almost, she kept rebirthing in the hell realm because of the nature of the mind, the stories that the mind creates, you know, the false, and it's false constructs of stories, because illness triggered, you know, a fear that, you know, oh my God, all these things are the reason why I'm suffering. And so that fear started overriding in thought formation how she showed up in the end. And so, you know, that's why, you know, I was breaking down. I was like, oh my God, have mercy, because we really don't know. You know, people really don't know. And even trying to share my purpose, showing up, people don't even understand. A lot of people don't even understand what I'm saying. I'm saying the language of the universe, frequency and vibration. How do I demonstrate that? And hopefully through Eckhart's, you know, being a teacher, hopefully being a teacher of present will help me to emanate it and yeah, share it from greater depths of clarity.
Beautiful. Eternally grateful, Francesca. Thank you so much. My deepest condolences about the passing away of your close friend. I know she was very dear to you. You've talked about her before as well. I think there are times when you were suffering the most that she helped with guidance. So
yes. After my surgery, she was the one that said, Francesca, I think this is the time that you need to let go of your practice. Because what was happening is I was so deep in my practice, you know, I wasn't even taking care of my physical body, the nervous system. I had already come into wisdom, but the perfectionist in me wanted to keep, you know, oh my God, I love this, more wisdom, more wisdom, more wisdom. And the universe was, no, the body needs you. So yeah, she was the one that gave me the courage that I needed, to be really honest, to actually let go of my practice. And it was kicking and screaming. I didn't
actually,
just let go.
you don't need to let go of, and this is what I was saying. Patricia asked the question about the imbalance at work, right? And you touched upon it as well. So now I no longer look at work as being in corporate America. When I look at my work that pays me a paycheck, as somewhere that I show up in presence.
Yeah.
That among all the unconscious human beings, at least let one person be the one that is pouring out kindness and compassion. Like Eckhart says, right? In a group setting, at least one person hold the consciousness, right?
Absolutely. That is profound.
Anchor the consciousness. So the way I look at work now is, where can I selflessly sacrifice so that I'm helping another person? There is no competition. There is no winning. There is no wanting to be better than another person. I just allow this consciousness to selflessly pour out energy into the world. Right.
I absolutely love that. Thank you. Yes. And when I say I dropped my practice, maybe I should rephrase that, because I've been showing up as my practice for so many years now.
Right.
That, yes.
You're not another person at home and another person at work. I am still bringing this presence at work.
Yes.
The other thing that you said was about all the suffering, about pedophilia or rape or what have you, like of people committing all kinds of atrocities, whatever it may be, right? What I feel, Francesca, is one of the things that both Tony Robbins and we were talking about it right before this Facebook Live started, where attention goes, energy flows. So the more we say there's pedophilia in the world, there's pedophilia in the world, there's pedophilia in the world, I feel we are giving attention to pedophilia.
Yeah.
And it is growing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's how the
and
mind
it's
tricks
growing.
us, right?
No, it's not the question of how the mind tricks us. What I'm saying is the more we pay attention to it, the more it will grow. So if you want it to lessen, if you want pedophilia to lessen in this world, withdraw your attention from it.
Absolutely, and
Stop focusing on that people have this predatory behavior of committing rapes in the world. Stop focusing on people have this predatory behavior of human trafficking, sex trafficking, minor trafficking, whatever it may be, right? I mean, the world is, if you start to dig, right? Like Eckhart says, it's a bottomless pit. If you look into the
agree,
suffering,
and
it's a
yeah, let me
bottomless pit.
clarify. Yeah, so I'm not focused on that. I'm aware of, where attention goes, energy flows, right? What I'm saying is, even what I'm moving through right now, like cosmically in relation to my journey and what's happening, the changes that are happening, even at this level, my mind still found a way to open up these old formations that,
Right.
old
Okay.
constructs that have
Makes
become
sense.
dormant, that I
Makes
no
sense.
longer see it, that I no longer.
So,
But all of
yeah.
a sudden, here's this full moon, and for some reason, all of these things are coming up. But
Yeah.
I understand the reason, because right now there is something else that's happening that's even higher than that, which is
So-
the realization of my destiny
Sure.
and all of that becoming clear.
It's
So,
not even realization of destiny. What we need to focus, each and every human being needs to focus on is, did I end all the pedophilia within me? Did I
Exactly.
end all the predatory behavior within me?
absolutely. And
The moment we have reached that highest vibrational energy, where we are just pure presence, all we are is this vessel of unconditional love. Unconditional love for the
Absolutely.
serial killer, unconditional love for the rapist, unconditional love for the pedophile,
yeah.
because they're under the control of their mind. They
Yes, the
cannot-
ignorance of the mind. Yes,
it's not
absolutely.
ignorant. It's not ignorance. Just like I cannot, like when I see a potato chip, I need to eat it. My mind, I am so attracted to a potato chip. Like I can see how a pedophile can look at a child and feel I need to gobble that child.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I
Because when
understand.
I see a potato chip, I want to gobble. Now I can use my level of presence and say, no, on Anthony Williams's protocol, deep fried foods are not allowed. I cannot eat that potato chip, right? So that's how I end I mean, that requires a lot of presence. So all this 8 billion, 6 billion human beings have to come to that level of presence where they can
Absolutely.
when they can look at that pull off their conditioned pattern and their we call it vasanas in Sanskrit, when they can the desire, Buddha uses the word desire, right? When they can look at their desire, the attraction of their desire, and through presence go, no, it is wrong for me to touch a child. I will not commit that sin. So when they can bring, so I'm just comparing, potato chip is a very small example, but I can see.
Yes, because this
I need-
energy is huge.
Yeah, I need to end that pull towards what is my desire, right?
Yes.
If I had my will and desire, I'd be eating all kinds of deep fried foods. I'd be eating lots of bread, right? Thankfully, because of medical medium protocol, a lot of it, not a lot, almost everything is eliminated. But I know what that pull is, or what Buddha talked about desire in Sanskrit or in Hinduism, right? It's called vasanas.
Yeah.
Even Sadhguru talks about like the pull, he calls it if he didn't have this physical body, even then, in his book, Death, Sadhguru explains that even then, the spirit, what we would call the spirit or the whatever is left, right, when the body passes away, and now this has become like a formation of energy, even
Yeah.
that has a karmic imprint, and
Absolutely.
even that will move according to its vasanas or compulsive tendencies.
Yes, that's
that
what the
compulsive-
Bardo realm, yeah,
Oh,
of
we are
what
we are
happens
that
after we die.
we are that compulsive. That is how compulsive our tendencies are. With that, I'll
And-
go to Wyatt. Wyatt, do you want to
Yeah.
say something? I'm
Can
sorry.
I share something quickly before we go to
Sure.
Wyatt?
Sure.
What I want to say is that this imprint, this pedophilia and all of these imprints that are happening, it's something I've transmuted again, by going within my own imprints, the darkness, understanding my desire, the whole 9 yards. That doesn't necessarily mean because I've transmuted it and I'm vibrating somewhere else. It doesn't mean that when I go and I see, for example, a Facebook post and somebody is sharing their horrific story of this happening to a child, I will never become triggered again. I'd be lying if I say that. And so that's where I become entangled. So one of the steps I'm taking as part of my, going deeper into my journey is also getting offline. I wouldn't be going on Facebook for hopefully a long time. And I don't even know if I'm planning to show up online there. It's not just Facebook, it's just social media as a whole, because I'm not at a place where I can hear a video or watch somebody's video and not become entangled as yet. So I obviously have, a long ways more to go on my path. But that has nothing to do with my, dissolving of energies and in relation to where I'm at. It just means I'm still triggerable from the entanglement
Sure.
that my mind becomes wrapped up in when that happens.
Great observation. And we have to get to the point that we see the video and we realize that all that pedophile is doing is there's a soul contract between the pedophile and whatever the child is, right?
Yeah, of course.
So they're all living their soul contracts. We
Yeah,
have
it's
to
hard though,
just say-
to see that over and over again. My
April
God,
said-
I was like,
April
I'm
said
not
at the
going-
top of the hour, April, when she started, she said, we need to stop looking at things at the human level. We need to observe things at the level of the soul. She
and
said
that takes practice over and over again. And when
and
it
you have
comes
to,
certain things,
that video, when you see it on Facebook, is that practice, is how will I learn not to trigger? Like he will teach you. I mean, we've taken School of Awakening. Luis and I took it back in 2019. I've taken it a couple of times. Like the course he's teaching you, we've taken it. He started it the first time he offered School of Awakening is back in year 2019. Luis Dunaway and I have already taken it. And I think I the following year I took it again because they offered us some discount or something. So I just wanted to let you know that that is the non-reaction to the egoic patterns of the world is what Eckhart is teaching.
Oh, absolutely.
how-
And I
how do
don't
we-
react all the time, but I'm not going to say I don't react, because from time to time, my reaction suddenly just happens. And then,
Right.
I practice my Buddha nature and all of that, but it doesn't mean I'm not, oh,
Right.
oh my God, looking at the anger and having to
Okay.
work through that, or
Sure.
and that doesn't mean I'm not going to feel, I'm
Sure.
not feeling empathy for the person that this is happening to, and I don't have the desire that suddenly arose for like, oh my God, I wish this would end. It's, as long as I guess I'm human here in this dimension, I'm still, I guess, triggerable
So
from time to time.
another Dr. John D. Martini lecture. It was about people creating stories, Francesca. Like you're looking at the child, this pedophile is doing something to the child, right? But that child is being offered a spiritual lesson of forgiveness right there, right?
Of course, but that child is
So,
so young, they don't know that as yet.
yeah, so just like if we were
Yeah.
molested, we were raped when we were little. We
Yes,
learned the
I
lesson.
was. So this is why I'm passionate about this
Right.
topic.
So,
Believe me,
so, so,
it's something I've been working on. And
so
it's just weird
Francesca,
to heal.
realize, just like Eckhart says, right? The reason why he understands all the egoic patterns of the world is because he can see his own egoic patterns.
Absolutely. And I had to see my own in that regards, right?
So what Dr. John D. Martinez says is wait until this person passes, like becomes an adult, right? Like, okay, they had a thing of pedophilia. Wait until you will see that pedophilia led them to actually make a decision that benefited them in their spiritual evolution.
Or it can also lead them to like addictions and stuff, right? Which is what I witnessed a lot of here.
Even
in
that
Vancouver,
addiction, even that addiction will take, ultimately that soul is going to learn a lesson.
Oh,
It
of
always
course, of course.
it
Yeah.
always is for their benefit, right?
Yes.
Just realize every experience is for the benefit of that soul's evolution. You're not looking at it, you're still looking at it at a very human level. Look at it as a soul level. At the soul level, that soul is still benefiting. And we talked about suffering, why we have suffering, and that's why we have suffering. Let me go to, it's getting late. Let me go to Wyatt. Let me go to Wyatt. Sorry. Go ahead, Wyatt.
I'm going to save my question for another call.
Why?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. And as I wrote in the chat a moment ago, I've.
Oh, you did? Okay, let me check.
Oh, yeah, I sent you something. Thank you for remembering.
Why are you going to save your question for another call?
And I'm grateful for all the lessons of wisdom that's been on this call. Thank you so much, each and every one of you.
Why didn't you want to ask your question now?
I'm going to save it for another call.
Okay.
And,
This was
and thank
this was
you.
enough. This was enough.
And thank you for I'm in a great place, and so it's because of everything on this call. So well, you're all the messengers holding up the mirror, and especially as it began with Lisa, I always learn something from Patricia.
April.
Everyone on this call.
You mean April?
April.
You mean,
yeah, not Lisa.
It began with Lisa.
no,
April.
The call.
No,
one that was
April.
blo-
There
at
was
the
no
beginning of
Lisa. That was April.
April.
well, she has blonde hair. Okay, so anyway, yeah. So I'm just.
So you know
Yeah.
Lisa who has blonde hair? Why?
Yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
so yeah, I'm just really grateful for all these lessons of wisdom on the call, and And I'll ask my question on another call.
Okay, so what
Thank
we're
you.
gonna do, what we're gonna do next time in 2 weeks from now, Wyatt, as soon as we join, you're gonna ask your question,
Fair enough.
okay? That way
Thank
you
you.
start the Facebook Live with your question, and then we will be all surprised and go with whatever your question is.
So you
Okay.
want me to ask it this Friday or on the next Q&A?
Next Q&A
Fair enough, because it's a
in
question.
2 weeks. In 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks?
Yes, because
Oh,
we don't
wonderful.
have Wednesday.
Got it.
Like the following Wednesday, we will not have Facebook Live Q&A, and then we'll have Facebook Live Q&A the following.
Got it. Okay,
Wednesday.
and we're still on for this Friday, are we not?
Yes, we are
Well,
still on.
I'm looking forward to it. You're a gracious lady, and your posts of wisdom and what you select from what Eckhart's teachings are just, we have a saying in Major League Baseball, you knock it right out of the park every time.
Eternally grateful. Thank you. Profoundly
Thank you.
humbled by that comment, Wyatt. Thank you so much. And that's the offering, right? Like, let's get together and raise our vibrational frequency and
Yeah.
help each other out. We're walking each other home, correct? So
Yep.
thank you for choosing your divinity over your humanity, everyone. Many blessings. Much love. Have a good night.
Thank you guys
Blessings.
so much. Thank you. Many
Blessings.
blessings, everybody.
Much love. Bye.